My people, hello, welcome back to the channel. I am the Disc Golf Nerd, and today we're going to talk about my favorite Overstable Beefy discs on the market. This is meant to serve as an addendum to a similar video that I'll link in the description and in the end screen of this video, featuring my favorite Flippy discs. I have a top 5, and then also a video where I went around the inventory, gathered up all the interesting Understable discs that I have, and we kind of just ran through all the different variations. I intend to do the same thing here, so we're going to talk about my top 5. We're going to have a slow disc, a mid-range, a 7-speed, 9-speed, and a distance driver, and then probably next week or the week after, I'll do another video just kind of gathering up all of the interesting Overstable plastic in the inventory and kind of going through it. Okay, so before we dig into the video, this is the first time I'm announcing this fully on the channel. We have the new version of the Disc Golf Nerd Defiant here in stock. These are available now, print to order, and I'm really happy with the way they came out. I want to do something colorful, bright, friendlier letters, de-emphasize my logo, but it's still the same Defiant that I know and love. I've already thrown these on a round last week, got a birdie on the first throw ever with it, and continue to rack them up just like I did all last year throwing my other signature edition. So the logo version is out of the picture, and these are the new 2024 edition of the Disc Golf Nerd Defiant from NSH Custom Discs, 3D printed disc, chunky rim, understable at high speeds, overstable at low speeds. Pretty much my favorite disc to throw. I throw this thing constantly. Available now, link in the description. Okay, to start off, we're going to give a quick honorable mention to the Latitude 64 Caltrup. This has been my most thrown slow overstable approach disc over a many year span. I just picked this thing up off the shelf. I haven't been carrying it lately, and as soon as I got it back in my hand, it felt so good. I think I'm probably going to carry it again next round just for old time's sake, but such a great flyer, very straight, and then always had some stability to finish. This thing is out of production and a little bit under the radar, so I'm not going to give it the actual nod here in this video, but I do want to give it a quick honorable mention shout out. All that said, I think if I'm going to crown my favorite slow overstable approach disc to kind of put into this video, I think it's only fair to go with the Harp. I think this thing's more versatile, forehand and backhand. I think it's an absolute classic. It's one that I've thrown a ton over the last few years, dabbling in some other things as well, because you guys know me, I'm a gear tester. I'm always trying different stuff and messing around, but I absolutely love the Harp. Any plastic you find it in, it's going to work out really well. These Opto ones are straighter, they have more glide, they'll fly farther, they're not as overstable, and then the baseline ones start out the most overstable, but they start to break in much faster. If you guys remember, years back, if you've been around, Ricky Wysocki dominated the tour and won back-to-back world titles throwing these Harps and these baseline plastics on an absolutely ridiculous amount of shots. I mean, anytime he could throw these, he was doing so, crushing the field with it. So it's an absolutely clutch disc that can work for the top players in the world, and it's just as effective as an overstable approach disc for a beginner as well. Okay, moving up to mid-range, 5 speeds. I already did a top 5 overstable mid-ranges of all time video, and the Justice topped that list, so it has to be the choice here, and I think it's the natural choice anyway. Basically the gold standard for what an overstable flat top overstable mid-range can be. This thing totally changed the game in terms of really beefy mid-ranges. There was nothing quite like this thing when it came out. We had never seen anything like it. It really just kind of pushed the limits of how beefy a disc could be, still being very functional and useful for the average player. And, you know, top players alike. You can throw this thing forehand and backhand. It's consistently overstable. It takes forever to break in, and it never really breaks into the point where it's not overstable. Like, there's basically no way you can do that to this thing. It's going to always be overstable, but it will get some more flight as it kind of breaks in over time, but I've never done that to a Justice. I just know that that's possible. Definitely the gold standard in terms of overstable mid-ranges. Man, a lot of trilogy in this list. Next one kind of simultaneously wins by default in the 7-speed category because I've never really carried anything else in this speed range that would fit the bill. It's also a really legit disc that is kind of flying under the radar at all times, has always been kind of underrated and continues to be. It is the Latitude 64 Opto Triple X. I had one of these in the frost, kind of flexible frost plastic in the bag for a few years, and it does everything you want it to do in terms of an overstable meat hook driver. It just is an absolutely mean disc, forehand and backhand. In those days, I was really only using it for the occasional spike shots, skip shots, and like severe wins and stuff like that because I had no forehand then. I still kind of don't, but yeah, basically wins by default and is also a totally legit super mean Overstable 7-speed that you guys should probably check out. Okay, moving into 9 speeds, we're actually going to take a look at 2. We have the Sockibomb Felon, the Orbit Felon from DD that I've been throwing more recently. This is a really excellent Overstable driver, but what I like about this thing is that if I power into it, it has more versatility for me, and I can throw it farther with power, but it's still overstable enough that it covers all the utility I need as well, so it's kind of a 2-for-1 special in that respect, and that's the only reason I am using it over this Pioneer. I love this Pioneer, and this is one of the most overstable discs that I've ever had in the bag for a long time that I really enjoyed and really connected with. It just ended up being really functional for me, especially when I was learning forehand and for kind of get out of trouble shots, and I use this thing more than a lot of the other overstable approach discs that I kind of just had in my bag in case over the years. So I definitely want to give this one a nod, and I still love the way this die came out. It's one of the first stencils I ever did. Still looks pretty good. But yeah, recently I've been throwing the Felon just because it's a bit more versatile with that extra distance that I can get out of it if I power into it. So when it comes to high-speed, overstable distance drivers, it's not a disc I've ever really needed in my bag. I've had a few in there for kind of certain situations, headwinds, you know, kind of like we talked about for that Pioneer. I find the 9-speed overstable discs like that work better for me, even when we're talking about high winds and whatever else. I think they're more functional for lower arm speed players, even in, you know, those kind of utility situations for overstability. I've never really needed a high-speed, really mean disc like this. You know, I'm not Calvin Heimberg. I can't put the power onto these discs that they really need and what they're really designed for. So I don't necessarily have a favorite high-speed distance driver of all time, so I'm just going to give the nod to the Destroyer. This thing has been available forever, and it continues to kind of set the standard for a high-speed distance driver. You know, we see like the Royal Rive and the time-lapse and stuff. They're all kind of trying to bite off of the Destroyer style. It was the original high-speed, overstable distance driver that the top arms could throw with full power and get good flights out of. But what's funny is I am actually bagging a Destroyer recently. I have this Gummy Champion one that I don't have with me here, but I've been actually throwing a Destroyer of late, and it's still a really functional disc for me as well. So I'm just going to give the nod to the Destroyer. I think it's hard to argue that it's the best overstable distance driver on the market overall. Obviously not quite as mean as some really specialty discs like a Max or something. For our regular arms, regular mere mortals like me, this is a mean disc that I can't throw very far at all. So that's it for this video. Thank you once again to everybody for watching, for your continued support here in 2024. Quick reminder, the Disc Golf Nerd Defiant 2024 edition from NSH Custom Discs. Available now. Link in the description. Please check it out if you're interested in helping to support the channel. And if you're interested in really fun discs that like to fly and skip straight to the basket over and over again, you might want to check out one of these Defiants. Thank you to everybody for your continued support. I love and appreciate you all. Shout out to the Disc Golf Nerd Patreon support team. You guys are my rock. I love you, and I'll talk to you later. Cheers.